Chilling tales for dark nights.
Want to make sure you never miss a Chilling Tales for Dark Nights video again? Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell to turn on notifications. The following interactive performance is a first-round entry in Chilling Tales for Dark Nights 2025 Evil Idol Voice Acting Competition. And you, listener, get to help decide who advances to round 2. Voting is simple. Following the performance, simply click the thumbs up icon on this video if you'd like this contestant to move forward, or the thumbs down if you'd like to see them be eliminated. Voting on this entry will conclude 1 week after the date of its posting. Thank you, and good luck to all of our contestants.
Halloween jack-o'-lanterns decorated the Lindens' front porch, their soft glow illuminating Mark Linden's dazed expression. Sheriff Kincaid tried to appear positive as he put a gentle hand on Mark's shoulder. Having no family of his own, Kincaid could only imagine what Mark was going through. "Is there anyone we can call?" Kincaid hunkered down a bit so his thick 6-foot frame didn't tower over Mark as much. Mark's eyes were shut, and Kincaid waited patiently for him to speak. He knew Mark was an educated man, the kind that had been keeping up with current events. Mark would know that his wife wasn't dead. Not yet. The Daily Gazette article had been very detailed, more so than Kincaid had liked, about the M.O. of the Riverdale snatcher. Mark's eyes opened. "How long do we have till she's found?" The time between abduction and the discovery of the bodies, ritualistically pinned up like a frog on a dissection slab, varied from 2 to 5 days. Away from the press, the FBI had shared with Kincaid that it really depended on how much gratification the snatcher was deriving from the current victim. "We're gonna find her," Kincaid said. "I just took the kids out trick-or-treating. We were only gone a half hour. I can't believe... Oh, God, oh, Karen!" Mark sobbed into both hands. "We'll find her." Kincaid tried to remember what church the Lindens attended. It wasn't St. Andrew's. He went there. "Do you go to First Community?" Mark nodded, his hand still covering his face. "Would you like me to call Pastor Johansson? I'm sure he can..." From the corner of his eye, Kincaid saw one of the deputies waving at him from the sidewalk. "Excuse me for a minute, Mark." Kincaid started down the porch steps. By the time his foot hit the grass, he was angry. Whatever reason Deputy Simon had for interrupting Kincaid now would be either trivial or just plain stupid. Most of Kincaid's deputies were kids fresh out of high school, and not one of them had enough confidence to handle anything on their own. To a veteran like Kincaid, a man with 15 years as a city cop and 2 tours of duty in the Marines, it was infuriating. Kincaid met the deputy in the middle of the lawn. "What the hell is so goddamn important you need to interrupt me every 10 seconds? Simon, looking down, seemed to be searching for words in the vicinity of his shoelaces. "You know how you told me to take pictures of the crime scene?" Kincaid was hoping to get some shots before the FBI showed up and shut him out again. "Yeah? Did you forget the camera?" "No, sir. I brought it," the deputy said. "Batteries are dead, though. Been meaning to swing by Walgreens for some new ones." Kincaid shook his head. The day he first laid eyes on Simon's resume, he saw no bullet points that listed idiot or first-class screw-up as his characteristics. Why did I hire this guy? "I have a camera in my trunk, so never mind that. Here's what I want you to do," Kincaid said. Simon nodded, taking out a notepad. "Take Mark inside to be with his kids. Then call Pastor Johansson. Tell him what happened and ask him to come over. Then call Karen Linden's sister. Think she's in Idlewood or something. I'm sure Mark would want her here. Times like this, a man needs the support of the Lord and his family." "Did you get that, deputy? Or were the words I used too large?" Simon stopped writing, then started reading aloud. "Take Mr. Linden inside. Call Pastor Johansson and sister in Idlewood. Got it." The deputy slapped his notebook shut and marched off toward the house. Kincaid felt an eye roll coming on, but stopped it, sighing instead, then headed to the street. His squad car, parked at the curb, had a disposable camera in the glove box, but he was hoping he had left his digital in the back compartment. When he reached the rear of his car, he paused a moment, remembering the huge mess he'd left in the trunk. To find his camera, he was going to have to dig. Glancing back at the porch, Kincaid wanted to make sure that Simon was following instructions. The orders seemed simple enough, but that had never stopped Simon from screwing them up before. Simon escorted Mark into the house. He shut the door, leaving the porch vacant save for 3 jack-o'-lanterns, eyes glowing orange. Their devilishly carved stares cast an almost knowing look at Kincaid. A chill crept over his neck, and he slapped it away. He never liked jack-o'-lanterns. Damn things just gave him the willies. He popped the trunk and peered inside. It was a full-on mess. Jesus, the camera's probably all the way at the bottom. He reached in and lifted Karen Linden's bound feet off the spare tire, then tried to roll her further back. She still appeared to be unconscious from the blow he'd delivered to the back of her head. No sign of the camera, though. Damn. When Kincaid grabbed a fistful of her hair to lift her head, her eyes popped open. She tried to scream through her gag, a sock shoved so far down her throat only the torn fringes of the toe section dangled outside her bleeding lips. Kincaid leaned in, putting his face inches from hers. Don't even think about it. Make one sound, and I'll pull that tongue right out of your pretty little head. Karen Linden blinked and sunk back into the trunk. That's better, Kincaid said. Besides, there'll be plenty of time for screaming later. He released her hair and slammed the trunk closed. He glanced back at the Linden's porch, prepared to meet the watchful leer of glowing jack-o'-lanterns. But there were 2 more sets of eyes staring at him than he prepared himself for. Mark and Deputy Simon stood on the porch, looking astonished. Kincaid shook his head. Simon, you're such a screw-up. The instructions were so simple. Take Mark inside, call Johansson, call the sister. What the hell were they doing on the porch? The deputy went for his gun, but had trouble releasing the holster strap. Kincaid knew that hiring deputies that made Barney Fife look competent would prove beneficial at some point. He cocked his head and swiftly pulled his revolver, leveling it at the deputy before Simon could get his weapon free. Kincaid fired. The deputy was hit square in the chest and fell back against the house. As he slid down the wall, he finally managed to unholster his pistol. The gun fell into his lap as his butt hit the porch. Kincaid turned the revolver on Mark. The frightened man dove out of the way. Kincaid fired twice, trying to hit Mark in the air, but his shots shattered the living room window instead. Mark landed out of sight, toppling a few uncarved pumpkins off the porch banister. Screams came from inside the house. The kids. Jesus, I am in no mood to kill kids. A neighborhood dog started barking. Porch lights came on, and behind him, across the street, a screen door squeaked open. Damn. He lowered his weapon. Time to move on. Well, this town was about tapped out anyway. Kincaid stepped around to the driver's side of his squad car and reached for the door handle. A speeding glint of orange reflected in the car window. When he turned, the pumpkin hit him in the face. The blow knocked him back against the car. His head cracked against the lights on the roof. He slid down onto the grass, wiping pumpkin guts from his eyes. The juices stung. Pumpkin seeds slid down his cheeks like unwanted tears. His fingers grazed his nose, and he winced in pain. It was probably broken. Kincaid should have been angry, but he wasn't. Mark was now fumbling around Simon's body. Nice throw, big guy. Kincaid searched for his gun in the pumpkin innards on the ground. His piece had fallen into the guts, hammer still cocked. He clasped it as Mark came down the steps holding something out in front of him. Kincaid's eyes focused with a suddenness that made him blink. He brought his revolver up. Mark had Simon's gun and was rushing across the lawn, pointing the weapon and frantically searching for the safety. Kincaid chuckled. That's the spirit. Fight for it. He took aim and pulled the trigger, but nothing happened. He pulled again. Nothing. He examined the revolver and couldn't believe his eyes. Pumpkin seeds wedged in like a doorstop were keeping the hammer from falling. He pushed the seeds out with his thumb, then brought the revolver up again fast. A pistol shot boomed and flashed before his eyes. The first shot hit his chest like a baseball bat to the ribs. The second and third pierced his gut with the burning intensity of branding irons. When the shots ended, Mark stood in front of him, silhouetted in the porch light. He was still pointing Simon's pistol at Kincaid's chest and, shaking like a child, kept pulling the trigger. Click, click, click. "Good job, cowboy," Kincaid said, choking up blood. He brought his hand to his face. Pumpkin juice dripped down his fingers, mixing with splatters of crimson. Kincaid convulsed and pulled in a last shallow breath as he glanced up at the Lindens' porch. Maybe he was hallucinating, but he swore that the jack-o'-lanterns were grinning at him, twisted grins glowing with malevolence. Then, just before it all went black, Kincaid remembered that he had never actually seen Mark throw that pumpkin.
Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Steve Taylor, reminding you that if you haven't already, don't forget to cast your vote for this contestant via either a thumbs up or a thumbs down vote. New entries will be posted throughout this month. Be sure to tune in and vote for each of them and help decide who becomes the next evil idol. Until next time, turn off the lights and turn on the dark.
Chilling tales for dark nights.